Hi, everyone, and welcome to this coffee and chat with us students here at NYU Stern. I'm Muhammad,
I'm Priyal.
And I'm Sumantra.
and we're here to answer any questions you guys may have. So before we get started, we'd all like to introduce ourselves. So someone could go next slide. Perfect. So, hi, I'm Muhammad. I'm a current senior here at NYU Stern in the BS in Business program, concentrating in finance and computing and data science. I'm originally from Cairo, Egypt, and some of the activities that I'm involved on within campus include the Strategic Venture Society, which is sort of like the VC tech club on campus, as well as the Stern program for undergraduate research, where you get to work with faculty and participate in the research that they are doing.
Awesome. So I'm Priyal. I'm a junior at Stern. I'm studying data science and marketing, and I'm doing a minor in astronomy from College of Arts and Science. I'm originally from India, and some other things that I'm involved in at Stern and outside of Stern are Gold Standard. So Gold Standard is a student-run newspaper of Stern. It's really fun. It's all of the students just writing for like business trends and stuff. I'm also in her campus NYU chapter. It's a journalist platform for it's just for females. So I'm a senior editor there. I actually used to be part of the Stern program of undergraduate research till last semester, but I didn't do it this semester. But yeah, really happy y'all here.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Sumantro. I'm from Sunnyvale, California, in the Bay Area, studying finance and data science. I'm also in the gold standard, like real. So again, writing on business trends or just student life at Stern, and so some really cool articles there, as well as Business Analytics Club or BAC, which is another tech club that we have, which is focused more on data analytics and careers in those fields. And so yeah, it's a really cool club.
So great. Before we get started, we'd like to actually get to know where everyone is joining us from. So if you could please let us know in the chat where you're joining us from, that would be great. Oh, we see Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Oh, Sri
Really?
Lanka.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
hope it's not too late in Sri Lanka right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. So why don't we get started? So Priyal and Sumantro, some of the things that I have found to be sort of like the best on campus and being at Stern is being able to take sort of a lot of interesting classes. So I had a question for you, sort of like, what has been an interesting class that you have taken, and who has been your favorite professor at Stern?
I can go first. I think one of the most interesting classes is the one actually I'm taking this semester. It's called Law, Business, and Society. All of us we have to take that course. It's considered under a social impact core course at Stern. It's such an interesting class because it's a business school, and it's a business school, and it's you're learning about law, and it's just not law about US specifically, it's all international law as well. So it's really interesting to learn different laws. And I'm not from here, I'm from India, so for me it's a completely different territory, and it's really interesting to learn about different laws in the country and everywhere else. And I'll take that question also in a bit, but one of my favorite professors is Gita Menon. I'm taking her for um, brand strategy and planning. It's a marketing concentration class, and she used to be a former dean till 2019, and now she's a professor. She is amazing. She's just the most sweetest person I've met, honestly, and she's so nice. She's always there to help us. So I guess those two would be my answer. Yeah.
That'd be no,
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, as Bill mentioned, I'm also in Professor Gu's Laws, Business and Society class, and yeah, it's an amazing class. But I think My favorite class is probably something that not a lot of people would mention. It's actually an elective called Business of Video Games, and so we learn how to analyze industry trends and build strategies around business in the video game industry. And the professor is really cool. It's Professor Van Doornen. He's been like an analyst in the gaming space for like 20 plus years. He wrote like the first book on business gaming models. Um, so overall, a really really cool experience, and so it also helped me land an internship in the gaming industry, and so I really recommend it if you guys can take it.
I actually took business of video games last semester, and I have to say it was one of the best classes I've taken as well. I'm a big I'm a big gamer myself, so it was like really interesting to get to learn about sort of like the dynamics of the industry itself. So that was really interesting. I see here we have a question about building a report with professors. Does anyone want to take that one?
I can take that one also. Like, all you can chime in. I would say so. For me, as a freshman, it was a bit hard just to go up and talk to a professor. I found it very intimidating because I was like, oh my god, it's a professor. They're teaching me. I cannot just go up and ask them questions. But I realized as I went more, like as I was in my sophomore year, I went to a bunch of office hours. So a lot of professors, they conduct office hours outside of class time, where you can just go in. You can have, if you have any doubt, you can just talk to the professor about your doubts. You can just go in and chat with the professor. They're all usually available for that. So they do offer a lot of resources for you to just go up to them, talk to them, just build a rapport with them. Another thing I would say, and I think Mohammed, you would agree, is the Stern Research for Undergraduate program. It's called SPUR. That has really also helped me build a rapport with the professors. So I actually worked with Professor Gita Menon a year ago. So like in my sophomore spring, I worked with her on a research project, and that really helped me have like one-on-one conversations with her. And even now she remembers me. Like I went to her class and she recognized me, even though all of her spur was like online. She recognized me, and we just built a rapport from there. So I would say it's a bit hard sometimes, but you will get used to it once you utilize the resources that Stern offers you.
Yeah, I also found that like just just going up to professors even after class for like 2 3 minutes, just talking about sort of like how that class sort of like interacts with what you're interested in. And if you have any questions, sort of like the professors get to know you because you sort of get really engaged into the material itself, and sort of like by going up to the professor and asking them questions and sort of like going to their office hours, as Priya mentioned, you sort of like start to get to know and build sort of like a more personalized relationship with the professor, and that becomes really helpful down the line for a variety of different reasons. So I know it can seem very intimidating at first, but once you sort of start getting into like the groove and sort of college, it becomes sort of like second nature to you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so oh, astronomy minor. Yeah, okay. That's a question I always get asked, and I'm always prepared for it. So I can actually take those classes with my business classes. It doesn't really affect much because we do have to take classes outside of Stern. I believe it's 44 electives that we have to take outside of Stern. Sorry, 44 credits we have to take outside of Stern. So, and the astronomy minor, so I do it from the College of Arts and Science, CAS, and it's really fun. It's just science class. I come actually from a science background. I don't have a business background. So it was really interesting for me to find out that, hey, NYU offers this opportunity for me to just, take classes outside of Stern and uh, outside of Stern, and it was just really enjoyable. Actually, last semester, I took a class called Observational Astronomy, and we actually got to see through telescopes Saturn and Jupiter. So that was extremely interesting. So I would say that it doesn't really um, um, like butt in with my like business classes. It's fine. I can always manage them because they're just one class. But yeah, I guess that does that answer your question? Okay. So let's get into a bit of the professional side. I know a lot of people ask Stern is such it's a business school, it's professional. So what are some things you would say Stern has prepared you for the real world or like the professional side of the things? Either if you can answer.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Stern has a lot of resources in the professional field. Of course, there's classes where we talk about real world cases that have actually happened in people who work in business in their day to day lives. But there's also the PDCE team, or the Professional Development and Career Education team. There's some really nice and down to earth people who are always willing to talk to you, and they give some really great advice. But I think for me, my favorite resource has been, upperclassmen, going to clubs, just overall getting a chance to meet some upperclassmen. And if you make that conscious effort to, go up to them and have a chat, they will be there to help you. And through that, I've made some really great friends, as well as, mentors. And I'm in touch with a lot of them even after graduation as well.
Yeah, adding on to that, sort of like upperclassmen, especially when you're sort of like a freshman or a sophomore, help like play a big role. They help you sort of like explore what you're interested in. So you get to talk about the experiences that they've had in the workplace, sort of like get to learn about like the different jobs that they've had, and sort of like from that you get to determine sort of like, okay, would this be sort of like something that I would be interested in or not? But not only that, like clubs on campus are sort of like a big catalyst or sort of like a big factor in helping you determine sort of like what you're interested in. So the club that I'm interested in, Strategic Venture Society, or SVS, is sort of like the tech slash VC club on campus. And so through that club, I was able to be exposed to the world of venture capital. And I realized that, this would be something that I would be interested in pursuing a career in. And so through that club, I was able to sort of like meet a lot of different venture capitalists based in New York and also in Silicon Valley, as well as also getting the opportunity to meet sort of a variety of different startup founders in New York and learn about what they're doing. But one other thing that I sort of struggled with before coming to Stern was sort of like communicating with an audience. And I feel like that at Stern specifically, it does really help you hone in on these skills. Um, One class that all students at Stern are required to take is called Organizational Communication, or ORCOM as we call it. Basically, it's a class that helps you sort of like refine your presenting skills and how to target your own presentation and what you're saying to your specific audience. And that has really helped me because it has helped me sort of like get my point across in a very concise manner and make sure that the way I'm phrasing things is suitable to the audience that I'm talking about or talking to. So overall, like Stern does help prepare you like very well for both on the professional development side and also on sort of like your personal side and helping you work towards your sort of like your professional goals or ambitions.
Yeah, so I think we have a question just related to what you just said. Does your concentration determine what jobs you can get? Does anyone want to take that or?
Sure, I can go for this. Absolutely not. It's sort of like concentrations are sort of like a way to help you further explore what you might be interested in. It doesn't just because you're concentrating in something does not mean that it determines what job you can get. Um, Bear in mind that sort of like your degree program, if you're joining the BS in business program, is a BS in business, and sort of like the concentration is sort of like a something that you want to like focus on or dive a little bit deeper in. And just because you concentrate in something does not mean that you sort of like you're stuck to certain like jobs within those industries. You have like a wide variety of industries to explore to, and a lot of employers also don't really care about sort of like what your degree in, as long as you're able to show that you're enthusiastic and actually care about the work that the company is doing. They tend to sort of like not really focus as much as on what degree you get or like what you concentrated in. Sumantra, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah. And I think all of what you said was great, Mohammed. The one thing I would like to add is I think also concentrations are really great in the sense that there are only 4 classes. So there's plenty of room for you to really explore before you decide what kind of concentration you want to take. Or if there's a class outside of the 2 concentrations you've already chosen, you can take that as well. So for me, I'm really interested in, data related classes. There was a class in the marketing concentration that I took called Research for Customer Insights. And so, although it didn't count for my data science concentration, I still had a great time in the class and I think it's given me a lot of added value just by taking it to further explore, data science.
Oh, perfect. I see we have another question about some popular study away sites for Stern students. I have not done study abroad, but multiple my friends at Stern have, and you can honestly go anywhere. Like NYU has so many study abroad sites, but I think one of the most famous one is London. One of my friends is currently in London. Um, one of my friend last semester she did a study abroad in Prague. That was really interesting. I was just following her on Instagram, looking at her story. It seemed like a really fun experience. And when I talked to her about it, it also seemed really interesting. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so one of the good thing or like one of the interesting things about being at NYU is you get like as Priyo mentioned like a wide variety of study away sites. You also get to study away not only at NYU sites specifically, but you also get to study away through the International Business Exchange Program or IBEX, where you basically go to one of our partner schools. So essentially, you go to another business school and spend a semester there, and it's sort of like an exchange program. And we have partner schools in Singapore, China, Australia. So you get to study at a like you have more options than you think you do essentially. I personally have not studied abroad, but I have had friends who have been to NYU Madrid and NYU London. And I've also known people who have gone to NYU Paris, Berlin. So really, it just depends on where you want to go. I wouldn't say there's like some popular sites, but it just all has to do on like which areas or which city you want to spend one semester in.
Right. So there's a question in the chat about concentration. So Elaine's asking if it's possible to have 3 concentrations. I really wish. I think that would have been really cool, but I think we are only allowed to declare formally up to 2. But that being said, you have plenty of space because concentrations are only 4 classes on top of your requirements. So I think you'll have plenty of space to explore classes from other concentrations. Do you guys have anything to add there?
Also, so you can take so you can take classes as Sumantro mentioned from other concentrations, but we also have sort of like something called tracks, which are basically sort of a series of classes that you can take if you're interested in sort of a specific industry. So there's sort of like a luxury retail track, a management consulting track, a corporate finance track. So these classes are sort of designed to help you sort of like further explore your interests and take the classes that are relevant to that specific interest. So those are always an option. Yeah, so we also have a question about when you declare your concentration. So students are basically encouraged to declare their concentrations by the end of their junior year. So you basically have the first 3 years to explore what you want to concentrate in. And basically, all concentrations or majority of them are made up of 4 classes, and you sort of like have to fulfill those 4 classes in order to sort of like concentrate in that specific field.
Yeah.
So I have a question for everyone watching today. Sort of like how many global study away sites does NYU actually have? Let us know your answer in the chat.
And don't include New York in that. Just aside
Yes.
from New York, how many? $12. Leon said it's 12. Okay.
Okay. Close.
It's pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
17. Uh, overshot it a little bit. So
Right. So there are actually 14 sites. aside from New York. So pretty close. Yeah, that was actually pretty close answers.
Um, so yeah, we see a question here about sort of like average salaries for grads are. So if you Google NYU Stern by the numbers, you will sort of get this whole webpage of all the statistics and numbers that are relevant with NYU Stern, and one of those is sort of like the average starting salary for NYU Stern graduates, and I think it was around $75,000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think it changes from which year class is going.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure like what the most recent one was, but you can
Yeah.
definitely look that up. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if I'm correct, I think in 2020 it was around 78.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was over 78,000 for our most recent years.
Yes.
Okay. So
Oh, we have another question. What fields are you guys planning on going into? I can start by my own field. Well, I'm a junior, so I'm still sort of exploring, but I'm really interested in video games and the crypto world. So I'm actually interning at a company which is in the metaverse. Really interesting. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this field or if I'm going to change it in my senior year. I'll figure it out next semester. But that's the field I am looking into going. Even though I'm studying both data science and marketing, as I mentioned. But I'm more towards data science. So I'm trying to figure out what video games. Okay, I'm gonna say video games though for this answer.
yeah, and for me, I guess it has to planning on going into the consulting world. Sort of like getting to work with like large Fortune 500 companies on sort of like helping them sort of address like the problems that they're facing, whether it's like launching a new product, increasing market share. So yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing after graduation.
Yeah, awesome guys. As Priel mentioned, I also interned at that company, the Metaverse Gaming company, and I think the entire crypto gaming space is really interesting, and I like both the trends of crypto and gaming. So something in that opportunity would be great. But overall, anything in fintech or data analytics, I think is where I want to be.
Okay, perfect. So I'm guessing this is a question everyone here has. Sort of like, can you tell me about sort of like your transition to NYC story? I know like it's different for everyone. So I just wanted to hear sort of like what your story was and how you sort of like overcame those challenges that you faced, especially during your first year.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. Again, I'm from a small town in the Bay Area and a much more quiet place than New York, and so I think it was definitely a big challenge seeing just the sights and the sounds of the city, as well as having to reach out to other people and make friends. But I think NYU has a great experience with Welcome Week, where you can really just use the events that NYU has, things like a silent disco party. That's where I met a lot of my friends now, and so through that I was able to meet people and go to other events with them. And so I was slowly getting myself more comfortable walking around and just exploring NYC. And now I really love just walking in New York City and just going in a random direction and discovering something new. And so eventually I feel like the pressure to really, just like, um, be independent has really started to come off. And, it's something that you end up enjoying a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, I also have like a little bit similar because I'm from a completely different country and I also come from a pretty small town in India. It was a lot more quieter there than it is in New York, and the cultural shock for me was quite insane for a while. I was like, "Whoa, what is this? Like, what's happening around me?" And there's like so many people, and like just so much to do, and like so little time, in my opinion, in my freshman year. But I actually met Sumantro in one of the NYU Welcome Week events. I believe that was the drag queen event that NYU has during that time, and everything was in person. So that was really interesting. That's how I actually met a lot of my friends that I have currently. And I think the transition was a bit slow for me because I was a bit more scared, a bit more reserved. But as I kind of went into different, so when you come to Stern, there is a program called this Cohort Leadership Program. They essentially divide you in, I think there are like 60 students in a single group, and that's like your family for your fall, like the first semester at Stern. I believe those were really important, and I found a lot of my friends through that. I had a really good. So you also have cohort leadership leaders. I have such a good rapport with my leader. I still talk to him. He has helped me in my internship and just living in New York. So like through all of that stuff, I was able to you know just be myself here again. I was able to explore the city more. I was um I guess happier in the city more in a way because I was not scared. So yeah, I guess the transition was tricky, but eventually I got over it. Yeah.
Perfect. Um, so yeah, I see here a question about so what are some of like the fun events exclusive to Sharon? Wow. Okay. So there are a lot.
Mm.
I think.
Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like some of my favorite ones have been sort of like the Cohen Arts and Cultural Experience, and
Mm.
sort of like what those events are is basically you get to go visit a wide variety of different places throughout NYC. So I think this semester they were offering tickets to Hamilton to go and watch Hamilton. I personally went to an NYCFC game with a few friends of mine. And so some of these events are exclusive to Stern. And basically, they're all free. You just sign up and you just go. So that's like really interesting. Another favorite of mine has to be sort of like Waffle Wednesdays. Yep. So Waffle Wednesdays is first Wednesday of every month. Basically, there are free waffles throughout the Stern building, and it's open only to Stern students. And so that's like one of my favorite events that Stern does on a monthly basis. What about yours?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention Waffle Wednesdays because it just started to happen again. Like finally, it's in person. That's really interesting. I love Waffle Wednesdays so much. I also really like the Stone Block Party. We unfortunately could not have it because of COVID issues for the I think last 2 years. But I really like the Stone Block Party. It's like a fall event when all of the freshmen come, and it's exclusive to Stone students. No one else is actually allowed in that. So it's a really interest. It's just a block party kind of thing, and it's in Gold Plaza, so it's like right outside of Stern's building. Like there's a open area. It's called Gold Plaza, and they put up tents there, and you just go in and you have fun. They have like food and some activities. I think that was really fun. I went to like the first one in my freshman year. It was super exciting. Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
So we have another question that is, what is something you wish you'd known about living in New York before you moved in? Okay, does anyone want to take it?
You
Yeah.
can,
Go ahead, Mohammed.
no, I was telling you, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah. New York's weather is very interesting. Of course, it snows in December and in January, but it's also pretty humid when it gets hot. So I think just overall, I could have been a little more prepared in terms of my wardrobe in freshman year, and so it's something a lot of people stress about. But I think I was lucky because I had a roommate from New York in my freshman year, and he helped me out a lot. So just being able to meet some locals, I think, is a really valuable asset.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you. Coming from Egypt, I'm not used to the cold, so we'll put it that way. But another thing that I wish that I had like known before was sort of like how to use the subway because that was like a big issue when I first moved here, like trying to find my way around, getting on the wrong train and ending up like somewhere in Queens. Was like an issue that I like had to struggle with, but it's actually simpler than you think it is.
Yeah.
And so that's like something that I wish that I had known beforehand.
Yeah, for me, honestly, it was just use Google Maps more. It was just use Google Maps more. Like I have been lost a lot, and like same reason, like I just didn't know which subway to take, and they're like express surveys, local surveys, and I just ended up in Brooklyn accidentally because I just didn't know how the subway system worked, but use Google Maps more.
And also, New York is a very pedestrian-friendly city, so you
Yeah.
will end up walking a lot.
Hmm.
So that's like a really nice thing too. So you just end up walking everywhere.
Yeah. So get good sneakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, love walking. But yeah, one thing I wanted to transition to make sure we talked about is, Muhammad and Priel. I know that both of you are international students, so wanted to ask, what's your experience like when you're transitioning to a different country as well as a new college in a city like New York City?
So I could go first for this one. So yeah, I know like moving to another country, especially to study, is a bit hard, and but overall, like NYU has made it sort of like a very seamless transition and made it like a very accepting community in a sense. So one of the good things about being at NYU is that it's one of the most diverse schools in the US. So you have like a lot of international students. And so that's like really great. You get to meet people from basically, I got to meet people from Egypt. I got to meet people from Italy, Greece, Mexico. So basically, like some people who I would have never met before in my life, which was really interesting. So you sort of like get to interact with a wide variety of different people from different countries. But not only that, people are like very accepting and also like willing to learn. So basically, Stern has a wide variety of different like culture events that happen on campus. I think one of them is Passport Day, where basically students from other countries come in and sort of like prepare food from their home country and then help serve it to other students on campus. So that was like a really interesting thing. I'm a big foodie, so that was like something that I really enjoy. But yeah, no, like overall, the culture shock was apparent as well. Like moving to another country, it is something that you will sort of experience. But overall, like you sort of like get sucked into New York is what I want to say. And New York is a very diverse place as well. So it sort of like feels more homey than you think it actually is. And so that's like something that I found like really helped with my transition here as an international student.
Yeah, I agree with everything Mohammed just said. I had like the same experience. And like for me, because I'm from India, there are actually a lot of Indian students already here. So I actually found a community with that. There are like clubs that are like all over NYU, for like Indian Cultural Club. I think it's called ICC, and stuff like that. That helped me find like Indians, and just because I felt like, oh, I have other Indians with me, I felt more homey, and then I could just go out more and meet different people. And as Mohammed said, like I think he mentioned everything. It's extremely diverse, so I got to meet so many. Like I have friends all over the world now. That's not something I would have had before if I was just in India. Like I would have only had Indian friends. Like I would not have had such a diverse group of friends, and you get to learn so much about like different cultures and just different people. So the transition is it's hard. I would say it's a little bit intimidating at times because you are in a different country. You just don't know the country, but if you just keep going, you'll be fine. Like everyone has their own pace. Don't worry about just coming to New York and just going into all of those clubs. Don't worry about that. Don't do that. Also, like move at your own pace, work at your own pace, and I think you'll definitely be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see here a question about the ISP program and IBEX. I think that's like a good question that we can answer now. So basically, ISP or International Studies Program is a class that students take during their junior year. And basically, what you do is you sort of like work with a company in one of three countries. So when you come to enroll in the class, you get to choose either a country that's focused on Latin America, Europe, or Asia. And so you get to work with one of the companies there and help them develop sort of like a strategy that they can pursue. It can either be a new product expansion or helping them sort of like refine an existing issue. And so one of the cool things about international studies program is you actually get to travel to that country during your spring break junior year, and you get to visit the company and get immersed in sort of like the local culture. And so it's a really interesting program. You get to travel to another country. with all your friends, basically. So it's something that's really interesting. IBEX, on the other hand, is sort of an exchange program. So you get to apply, and then you get to you choose a school that you want to go to, and basically you get to go and spend that in your entire semester at that school. I think it's only open to juniors and seniors. And so once that happens, you could get to apply, and you get to go study at that specific partner university for that entire semester. Do you guys have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, so I'm actually taking ISP right now. It's a really fun experience. You get to learn about a whole different economy, like a completely different country. You get to immerse yourself in their culture, their economy, and then you have to come up with a business solution for whatever industry is assigned to you. So we have the beer industry. So Mantra and I were in the same class. So we have the beer industry, and it's really interesting. It's an industry that I have actually never looked into, and I now know a lot about the beer industry, so I have the knowledge, and understand like the economies of those countries. And it's not just so I mainly, my main experience is with ISP. So yeah, so they just make you do like comparison reports, so you get to learn about different countries and stuff. Unfortunately, we couldn't go on a trip because of COVID issues. We couldn't go to the country we chose, but it's a really fun experience, I would say. Yeah.
So we have a question here about what's the work-life balance like in Stir. Sumantro, do you want to take a shot?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I think it's really what you make of it. Again, if you're worried if classes are going to be too much of a time-consuming experience, you can always talk to your academic advisor. Advisors here are really great, and they know a lot about our curriculum, and so they can help you build a balanced course load. Again, also upperclassmen who have taken the classes that you're interested in, really great asset as well. So you can always talk to them. If you're concerned as well about part-time jobs or internships, because a lot of Stern students do that while in the semester, again, I think it's just important to make sure you're talking to people like advisors and upperclassmen to make sure that you have everything balanced. And again, I think if you do that, I don't think it'll be hard at all to keep that balance. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think one of the best things about being at Stern is you have our own dedicated academic advisors, and so they really know like when the workload can become too much or it's going to be a light semester. Like I remember when I was registering for classes, I would meet with my academic advisor and ask them like, okay, here are the classes I'm planning on taking. Do you think the workload's gonna be too much? About right. And so from there they can help guide you based on sort of like what other commitments you have, as well as like what they have heard from other students and what the sort of like coursework for that class looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think you guys covered it. So I actually have a question. So what is on people's bucket list if they come to New York? What are you like guys are most excited about? What were you both the most excited about when you came to New York? Like what have you done, and what's like on your bucket list right now?
Um, yeah, I think one of the things that excites me the most, it happens to be the food scene here in New York. New York has a bunch of cool restaurants, and I've never had like a bad meal here in New York. Also, I'm a big Broadway fan. I see a comment here about,
Yeah.
yep, Broadway. I've been to a few Broadway shows here. I've been to, let's see, I've been to School of Rock. I've been to Hamilton. I've been to Dear Evan Hansen. And so those have been like some of the ones that have like stood out to me. Um, yeah, like New York is a big place, so there's still like a bunch of stuff I want to do before I graduate. So yeah.
Broadway musicals are great. I think for me, I watched Phantom of the Opera and I really liked it. Didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And another thing I really liked was just there's obviously a lot of things that you can do as a tourist, sightseeing, but there's also ways that you really feel like a New Yorker as well. Like I went to a Brooklyn Nets game yesterday. It was a great experience, and people of Brooklyn are so passionate. And so it was just a really, really great experience in Barclays Center.
Yeah. Oh, so for all of the foodies, what is your favorite food you have tried that was new to you? I'm actually also a huge foodie, and I actually want to take this question a little bit because I'm actually a vegetarian. So when first came here, I was very confused as to what I'm going to eat because I thought everything here would have just meat in it. I just was very confused if I would even find a very vegetarian friendly places. But I actually ended up finding this. So there's this restaurant called Spicy Moon. It's a completely vegan Chinese restaurant. That was not something I've heard of before. Um, I think that is one of the best restaurants I've tried in the city, and it's so close to NYU. And oh, there's a question about I was going to talk about the halal food. So is there a lot of halal food available? Yes, there are halal carts right outside of Stern, and I'm sure everyone has their own favorite halal card from there. So there's a bunch of food around the city. Do you guys wanna have a favorite?
Yeah, I think like back to my favorite food question, it's like a very hard question to answer. I've like tried a lot of different new foods here, and it's like very hard to pick a favorite. But the good thing about like the Washington Square Park area is that there are a lot of restaurants around that area, a lot of cafes as well. And so like each day you could go to a new place and you never run out of places to go to, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so look, you will always like be able to explore new restaurants and try new foods here. And that's like a really good thing about being in sort of like a very diverse and cosmopolitan city such as New York. People from around the world come here and open sort of like an Egyptian restaurant, Indian restaurant. So you sort of like can go there, try foods from around the world while still being in New York City because it's such a diverse city.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I need to try more foods, honestly, but I think my favorite new food that I tried in New York is probably a Turkish cafe called Shuka. They have some really good shakshuka and this thing called babka French toast. It's so chocolatey and it absolutely just melts in your mouth, and um, I can't have enough of that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, just transitioning a little bit towards community, I wanted to ask you guys about the clubs that you guys are in. I know you both talked about being in Strategic Venture Society, BSC. So, just how are those clubs like? Do you want to talk a little bit more about them?
Yeah, great question. For me, I think my favorite club is BAC, or Business Analytics Club. It's a club that a lot of students who are interested in finance go into because they want to get a better overview of the tech careers that aren't just software engineering or product management, but overall the whole spectrum of careers in tech that span across all the business functions. Finance, marketing, operations, HR. And so that's it's a really helpful club. If you want to be more technical, you can be more technical, but you don't necessarily have to be. And so there are resources for all types of students. And so it's overall a really great community, great food as well. And so I really like it. What about you, Mohammed?
Yeah, so the club that I'm also involved in is Strategic Venture Society. It's also another tech club here on campus, but it focuses more on sort of like the venture capital industry as well as like working with startups. And so here at Stern, there's something called Common Hour, which is basically every day between 12:30 and 1:30, where no classes are scheduled, and that's when all Stern clubs meet. And so you generally attend the weekly meeting, and then through there, a lot of cool speakers come in. We've had entrepreneurs come in, we've had investors come in, and basically they talk to us sort of about how to break into the industry, sort of like what they do and what their day-to-day life looks like. And so that's been really good. And it's also like a really good place to sort of like develop a community because you're basically meeting with like as Sumant mentioned, like very like-minded people who are interested in the same stuff. And so basically you get to meet friends through those clubs and get to work on a variety of different projects together. And basically I've met a lot of friends in that club specifically, and what brought us together was sort of like our interest in tech and venture capital. All right. So, question about the New York Rats. Okay, does anyone want to take this one?
It is unfortunately a bit true, I would say, especially in subway stations, but yeah.
I think after a while the rats just don't phase you anymore. They sort of
Yeah.
accept that they're there somewhere.
I just like walk past them at this point. I'm like, oh, there was one, just don't bother it, move on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't caught a rat carrying pizza on its head yet, but hopefully soon.
Oh my god. Right. So transitioning back to some questions, is it true that some clubs at Stern ask for high school transcripts? No, I that has never happened to me. I have applied to a lot of clubs. I've been part of a lot of clubs. No one, I don't think any club will ever ask you for a high school transcript, because the clubs are not meant as a competitive space. They're just for you to enjoy a activity that all of you all like, and like, so I think both of you can talk a bit better about this than me. So yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I've never been asked a question. I've never been asked for a high school transcript at a club. I guess most of these clubs don't like really are not really interested in sort of like how you performed in high school. They're sort of like more interested in are you interested in this specific industry specifically. So they're trying to like gauge your interest rather than sort of like focus on your past performance.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think also like some clubs, if you're applying to like a specific program or the e-board, they might ask for a resume, but I don't think it's really necessary for you to put your high school information on that. You can put, whatever is most relevant on the resume.
So entrepreneurial options available at Stern Lake. So NYU has a really great entrepreneurial lab called the Leslie E Lab, and basically there you get to go work with. You have dedicated staff there who are there to sort of like help you develop out your business plan, get in touch with investors, develop sort of like a minimum viable product, do the market research. So you do have sort of like that support ecosystem to try and help you get sort of like your venture off the ground. But not only that, like a lot of like sort of like the entrepreneurial focused clubs on campus, such as Entrepreneurial Exchange Group and then Strategic Venture Society, also help sort of like bring together sort of like investors and sort of potential startups. Most of these clubs can help you sort of like further develop your business plan, design a product. I know like Strategic Venture Society is a very design heavy focused club. So if you're looking for someone to help you design your product, they could be sort of like a resource. And Sumantro, do you want to talk about the 300K entrepreneurship challenge?
Yeah, sure. So we have something called the 300K challenge for entrepreneurship. And so if you are interested in that, you can form a team with some friends and you can pitch an entrepreneurial idea. And if you win, you will get $300,000 worth of funding. And so we had a really cool group of students who formed an idea called Sea Straws. A group from about 5 students who were doing it as a personal interest to an actual company now, and they have about I think like 20 to 25 employees doing something that's really good for the environment. So it's a great way I think to explore your interest in entrepreneurship while making some great friends as well.
Okay, so we see a question here about networking events at Stern. Priyo, do you want to take a
Yeah,
shot at
sure.
this?
Yeah, there are actually a lot of events that offer networking. So there are a lot of clubs also that offer networking. So there's a club called USWIP. It's Undergraduate Women at Stern. They actually have conferences. They actually had their spring conference. I think like two weeks ago or something, where they brought in a lot of companies, and the students just got a chance to talk to those people, whoever came there. So that's a really good opportunity for you to go and network. Also, just clubs in general, they bring in speakers from different companies. So I was a part of a club called Marketing Society. They used to bring all of these different marketing, niche marketing companies, and I got to talk to a lot of those different people just through those chats, and then I reached them out in on LinkedIn. So you can just have a all you have a lot of resources for doing that. If you ever feel pressured, like there's just so much resources that Stern will offer you. Do you guys want to like talk a little bit about your own clubs and what your experience has been in that?
Yeah, sure. So again, networking events, they happen. Stern hosts them as well as individual clubs as well. So at the club, it's usually going to be maybe an alumni who had an e-board position in that club. So they'll be really integrated within that club and know all about how the club can support you the best. And so I think that's a great way you can have a little more of a personalized experience with networking. I think also there are things called peer mentors where it'll be like a junior or senior who has experience within a certain field. So for example, like they're usually peer mentors for like tech, fintech, entrepreneurship, and all sorts of fields. So if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to them. And they've given me a lot of really good networking advice as well, and really introduced me to other Stern alumni who have been very helpful.
Yeah, and also in addition to that, sort of like the Wasserman Career Center here on Stern sort of like brings in a lot of employers who host sort of like information and networking sessions that you can go to. So that's like really helpful. But also at the same time, you have the NYU's alumni network in general is vast, and so you have like whatever industry you can think of. We have some alumni who work in that industry, so you could easily like message an alumni on LinkedIn or send them an email asking them for like a quick 20-minute coffee chat just to like talk about like what their day-to-day life looks like, learn more about their company. And they'd be more than willing to actually like sit down and talk to you just because like your shared ties, like, oh, you went to NYU and I went to NYU. So like the alumni network is very helpful, and it's like we have alumni everywhere. So don't be afraid to tap into that. They will respond and most likely like really help you like get to where you want to be.
Okay, so let's transition to why you guys joined Stern. Um,
Yeah.
okay.
So why my Stern? I think the biggest reason for me had to be sort of like being located in New York City. Here are like some of the pictures of some of the events that I went to. Like being able to go skiing with some friends was a really interesting experience. Like a lot of ski slopes are about like 2 hours to like 5 hours away from New York, so you could easily go ski, spend the day, and come back. And plus there's like a lot to do in New York City. Like you could go out, like not just like explore like a lot of different restaurants. There's a lot of parks, a lot of museums that you can go to. And like I'm a person who loves history, so being able to like go to the Met, or go to the Museum of Natural History and just like sort of like just watch at like the different exhibitions they have, something that I find really interesting. And also not just that, but also like being located in New York helps you sort of like get in contact with a lot of potential employers. Like a lot of companies sort of like have their headquarters based here in New York, and that's the good thing about being at NYU. These employers are like in very easily reached out to. You can easily like send an email to a potential like an employee at a company, and they'll like sit down with you and help you get to where you want to be. Just because you're located in New York City, like you can go grab coffee with them at a coffee shop and just talk to them and learn sort of about like what their day-to-day looks like. And so those were sort of like the reasons that brought me to Stern, sort of like the professional development, the ability to be able to explore New York, and the wide variety of events and activities that you can do in New York.
Yeah. So for me, I love nature. As you can see, I have like a picture of that's actually the NYU Law Building. They have a really pretty courtyard that you can just go and sit and just work or just just sit down, have some coffee. For me, the main reason was just the community. So in the middle, there's a picture of the marketing society that I used to be a part of. This is actually from last semester. We did a Secret Santa. for Christmas, and we all got like different gifts. I actually got a really pretty book that was on my wish list that someone gifted me. It's just such a vibrant community of so many helpful people here. I just absolutely love being a part of this community. And other than that, I am in love with the city. As you can see, there's a there's a picture of Saturn. I couldn't take the whole picture here, but there's a picture of Saturn from the planetarium that's actually in the Natural History Museum. I love that planetarium. They have so many different exhibitions at times. It's really fun. Other than that, I don't know, but I love Central Park. Has anyone here like been to Central Park? I love it. I go there like almost every time. So I went there after it was like the first snowstorm happened. There's like a picture of me standing there in the fountain area. I also went there. I'm actually going to go back there because the cherry blossoms are there now. So it just gets super magical and it's so pretty. Like I am in love with the city and I'm in love with the opportunity that the city offers. So yeah, that's why I'm here at Start.
Yeah, and as you guys mentioned, I think New York is a beautiful city. So there's a couple pictures of the New York skyline. I just love walking in it. Just any direction that I walk, I discover something new. So I really love it. And some pictures of my favorite places. So again, there's a dinosaur. Loving the love for the Museum of Natural History. It's my favorite museum. Some great food as well. Not a huge fan of snow, but there's a picture of me and my friends at a snowy Central Park and the World Trade Center as well as New York beaches aren't the first thing that comes to mind, but Brighton Beach in Brooklyn is a really nice beach. And in the middle, there's a picture of the BACE board getting some good food. So yeah, community at Stern and New York and NYU is also really great.
Okay, so I think that's all the time, all that we have time for today. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time to answer any questions, but if you have any questions or want to get in touch with a Stern student, you can reach out to streetteam@stern.nyu.edu. And if you have any questions as well, please feel free to ask them there and someone will get in contact with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.